Herzlich willkommen, liebe Tauchen Digital Bühnentalk Gäste und Zuschauer. Heute haben wir uns nach England begeben und zwar zu Jim Standing. Und unser Talk wird jetzt in Englisch stattfinden. Alle, die dessen mächtig sind, viel Spaß beim Zuhören. Allen anderen bieten wir einen kleinen Untertitel an. Und worum es geht, das wird uns Jim gleich selbst verraten. Hi there, Jim. Warmly welcome.
Thanks, Alex. It's nice to see you.
How's the weather in Brexit land, Brexit country?
Well, if it's in Brexit land, then it's always grim. Yeah, a bit rainy, but to be expected.
As usual.
Yeah.
So, Jim, let's go on with talking by was just one simple question, or maybe two. Who are you and what are you doing?
Well, my name's Jim, and I'm one of the founders of Fourth Element, along with Paul Strike. And 20 years ago, or just over 20 years ago, we had a conversation with each other while we were diving about how we would like to have better gear, especially keeping us warm. Diving in the UK isn't exactly tropical, and we both felt that the gear wasn't available, that wasn't on the market. So we set out to see if we could do it ourselves and see what we could come up with. And a lot of research, a lot of planning and testing went into essentially trying to create the best possible thermal protection for scuba divers. And that has grown from there.
Which background both of you had to go into this direction?
We were both teachers. Both school teachers, and Paul taught sports science and art and design, and I taught biology. My background at university level was in physiology, and in particular the physiology of diving mammals. So I actually spent quite a bit of time experimenting on myself in large baths, measuring my own metabolic rate and breathing, and all to do with thermal protection and metabolic rate.
And afterwards you came together and excited to do what?
Well, it was one of those things. I'd come back from traveling around the world and diving everywhere I could. And one of the things that really impressed me, or was impressed upon me, was that there was no gear for scuba divers to walk around in to say I'm a diver, unlike there was for surfers. And I wanted to show that I was a diver. I wanted to be proud of the fact that this was my sport, this was my thing. Paul was busy crossing over from the British Sub-Aqua Club to PADI instructor course, and realized that everybody, himself included, was freezing during these courses, and was just frustrated with not being able to enjoy it because he was cold. And so I don't know exactly how it happened. There was probably too much beer involved. But we went down these conversations after our days of diving in the Red Sea. And by the end of a week of this, we'd kind of come up with this idea that maybe, just maybe, our ideas were good enough that people would respond to them and find them interesting. And then after that, it was just a case of not really knowing what we were doing, but having enough determination to do it.
But there seems to be a lot of luck inside what you did, because it works. Right now, how long the company is existing? And
20 years.
20 long years. 20 years in a business, by the way, audience, in a business which is already done by so many big companies. How you made it? Why your products are better than other ones, or what makes your products so special that the company right now is such a successful company? I'm sorry.
Well, honestly, it's a combination of research, going out there and looking for the best solution. so often in our industry and in many other industries, we're designing something to a price. We're designing something to fit into a market. And when we started, we just said, we want to make the best possible thing, and it costs what it costs. And that will be, and that will be our entry into the market with something where we didn't want to compromise. We didn't want to say, yeah, that will do. This was something that was so crucial to get right. And of course, when we came out with this product, it was totally different to anything anybody else was making. The Xerotherm base layer was so thin, it seemed like there was nothing there. And then we had some lucky breaks. We gave a base layer to a guy called Doug Allen, who was filming with the BBC in Svalbard in the Arctic Circle. And he took it, wore it under his neoprene dry suit, only the Xerotherm, and came back and said, this was amazing, this was incredible. And it was at that point we're like, okay, we know we're onto something here. And if it really achieves that kind of thermal protection, and so just going out and trying to be the best at what we do has always been our it's always been the mission, really.
And so the base layer was the first step in all the history you made, and then right now you're also offering dry suits. How can you offer dry suits?
That was, largely as a result of the growth of the business. We brought new undergarments in. We brought the Arctic undergarment in, and then the Halo 3D undersuit. And at the same time, also launched wetsuits and brought some new innovation to neoprene or to wetsuit design. And then so many people said, when are you going to make a dry suit? When are you going to make a dry suit? And we thought for a long time about it, and eventually realized that if we were going to do this, we would have to bring something new to that market as well. And that's where the biomapping and creating a dry suit from 3D scans or photogrammetry came from. That here was an opportunity for us to make a suit that fits personally for somebody.
But this wasn't the last step you made. The last step you made was producing swim gear out from what material? And this is also one of the steps right now I want to switch in the Russian positive stuff. So what about this history?
I mean, this was a huge fundamental shift in the way that we have been running the company for the last 6 years. And I suppose it comes back to the original, one of those original questions you asked me, but why would we do this? And we did this to try and make the best product we can. And over the early years, we worked with environmental charities. We worked with the Plastic Oceans Foundation and helped them to finance making their film A Plastic Ocean. We worked with the Shark Trust, again, supporting them financially. And the health and the vitality of the ocean has been absolutely at the core of our business, because that's at the core of our sport. That's why we go diving. We go diving to see incredible things underwater. At least very many of us do. I'm certainly, I like wrecks, but I'm much more intrigued by the life that lives on the wrecks. So when we discovered, quite by chance, a friend of mine was at the Baltic Tech conference in Poland, and she called me up at the end of it and said, there's these guys taking ghost fishing net out of the water. And it's,
I think the project, we're already at the talk in with Sabine Gerkow. She's in there. Yeah. So everybody who wants to know much more about the project, have a look at the other one video strip we made with Sabine Gerkow, and afterwards you know what Jim's meaning. Sorry.
No, and it's just this incredible story of how these guys who are taking net off wrecks and reef and preserving the underwater environment. But the great thing about this story was it then went on to talk about the fact that this product could be recycled, and this light bulb moment for us was, well, let's use this material to make a product for divers. And we started with swimwear, because that was relatively easy to take this yarn, incorporate it into swimwear fabric. It's made in Italy, and create a line of swimwear that is made from 78% recycled nylon waste. And for us, that it became this incredibly important project to show people what was possible, and to work with these incredible divers and these people who were really, to see these people risking their lives. It was, and sometimes these wrecks and reefs are at great depth, and they're diving with a mission, they're diving with a cause, and it's so inspiring. And you think, if only we could use this. And so we were really driven to find the first solution, which was the swimwear, and to show people what could be done.
And what was the next step? Because we are also talking about the Ocean Positive project, because this was something which was, I think, 2019 you started it, and this was something going around the media. And what was behind the project? What was the idea behind this?
Well, I mean, we initially, I would say that the consumer reaction from the swimwear was, oh yeah, nice idea, but it didn't really take off. People liked the idea of this Ocean Positive product, but for us, we'd started now, and there was no going back. And this comes to this whole thing that, when we see all this stuff in the media, and I'm sure everybody listening to us now is well aware of these issues, well aware of the problems of plastic in the ocean, and there's no real need to go through that again. But when you see the videos like this one here, which was taken in Bali, off the Nusa Lembongan in Bali, by a guy called Richard Horner, when you see this video and you actually watch this video playing through, and it's probably playing right now, I think. So if you have a look at this, you'll see basically a diver surrounded by plastic. And if you try and work out what's plastic and what's a jellyfish, you realize that's an incredibly difficult thing. And while you're busy trying to watch it, trying to work that out, then try and spot the manta ray that's swimming by, because it's right there in this sequence. And this is a problem that we're all presented with. What do we do with this plastic? And there are so many people talking about how they can be a part of the solution: beach cleanups, dive site cleanups. But what do we do with it, and how do we really make it work when we see mountains of plastic waste on the beach, when we see tons of discarded plastic fishing net? We realize that we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, for sure.
Then we realize we've got to become a part of the solution and no longer be a part of the problem. And all over the world, there's incredible projects. The Plastic Bank, for example, is buying plastic by weight from people in deprived coastal communities, giving them money towards food, education, healthcare, and housing. And this plastic is now being sold to there's one of the larger German companies, I think it's a packaging manufacturer, and also to companies all over the world. It's sold as something called social plastic. So we as consumers buy something made from this recycled plastic, and the money is secured by blockchain technology right the way, so we know that it's helping people in these deprived communities. So these projects are there, and we're monetizing this waste. And we're just going another step further with our project of saying, okay, this is made from waste, and you're going to pay for a product which we hope is beautiful, we hope you want, and we hope it's valuable to you in diving or in your water sports, and you ascribe some value to that and get some real satisfaction from the fact that we are contributing to being part of the solution. And so we set out with this as our mission, and then expanded this to say, look, we're going to eliminate single-use plastic packaging from our product, because
this is what you can directly do as producer, for sure. Yeah.
How can we really change? How can we do this and make a real change? Well, let's stop contributing to the problem. That's the first step. And that's something that we can all do, whether it's as a company or as individuals or governments or however. We can stop contributing to the problem. So we decided to do that and set ourselves a target of having no single-use plastic packaging by 2020. And
did it work out?
Well, it has now. We are now no longer packaging anything in that, but sadly, coronavirus set us back a little bit with our supply chains during 2020, and we didn't hit the target of World Oceans Day that we wanted. We were about 70% there by then, but I'm happy to say that now it's back on track, and nothing that comes out of of any of our factories, of any of our suppliers, is now in single-use plastic. So that will start filtering through into the shops and to the consumers during 2021. And so that is, we've made it. We were a bit late.
Congrats.
But the other part of our mission was to actually incorporate more of our more recycled material in our products. So we redeveloped our thermocline wetsuit products. One of the next big challenges I think we all will face, and we will all have to face up to, is microplastics coming out in the laundry, and in many cases polyester itself is the biggest contributor to that problem. So depending on how it is woven or how it is knitted, that very much depends on how long it will last. In the rash guards, the way that it is knitted, it's pretty tough and it will last. And we've been testing that longevity now for 5 years, and we've seen no difference in the performance. And so in that sense, versus the same thing made from scratch, we would expect to see exactly the same performance and lifespan.
And for you as producer, it's much more expensive, or you say it's cheaper, or?
Yeah, it's definitely more expensive. But this still comes back to this fundamental thing for us, that it's not a choice anymore. Once we started thinking about our own impact, we didn't then think we're making choices. That the imperative now is to continue to be better, and now it's not just good enough to make the best wetsuit or the best undergarment. We have to be a better citizen of the ocean. We have to be a better custodian of the ocean. And our mission 2020 was something which we realized, if we do this, it'd be great. Wonderful for us to achieve this, but what if we could bring the rest of the dive industry along with us and create a more meaningful change? And more than 300 organizations within our sport joined us on this mission to change their relationship with plastics.
300. Wow.
Yeah. And from the big guys, the likes of Aqualung and Mares, down to individual instructors who decided to invest in reusable water bottles rather than giving their guests single-use plastic water bottles, right the way up to a wholesale change in packaging. So as an industry, we have actually made huge leaps forward in the last in the last 3 years in terms of reducing our impact. People changing the packaging of their fins so that they were reusable rather than throw away. And that has been a source of, it's a source of sort of pride and satisfaction that we were able to start something, but we don't have all the answers, and certainly we never pretend to have any of those answers. This is it's a collaboration. And for us, we've kind of moved ahead now with developing a wetsuit called Surface, which is made from Ulex, which is a sustainable and natural alternative to neoprene. So it's the raw materials are grown.
Which one? From
it's from rubber tree. It's made from rubber from the rubber tree and the extract of Russian dandelion roots. And
that's very interesting.
Yeah, and create this incredible foam that really performs just like neoprene. We've been testing it now for just over 2 years in a diving context, and it is still performing very, very well, maybe even better than some of the neoprene that we use in terms of compression resistance and longevity. But it is sustainable, it's certified sustainable product. And we line that wetsuit with recycled materials as well, glue it with water-based glues. And that's the direction of travel for us in developing products. But we've also been developing other products with recycled materials at the same time. There are some huge challenges ahead, Alex. When we see how many masks are being used on every single day, disposable masks, and not all of those are going to be disposed of correctly, and they will end up in the ocean, and all of these issues surrounding coronavirus, not just the plastic in the ocean, but the inability for people to travel to destinations means that there is a lack of investment in areas which are sensitive, where marine protected areas where there's no tourism
with the Chinese and stuff like this. Yeah.
And so we're all going to have to face up to the fact that we're in this project, that we're in this mission together. And as divers, we see this. You go diving and you see the plastic like in that video, and you think, I've got to do something about that. I've got to tell people, or I've got to change my behavior. And the only thing that we can change is our own behavior. Yeah. And as businesses, the only thing we can change is our practices and how we do things. And we're not going to be perfect. None of us are perfect. No individuals. Everything we do has a cost on the planet, has some impact on the planet, and but we can be better. And I think that's fundamentally our mission, is that as a company and as a brand, we want to be part of looking after our oceans and preserving it for the future.
What would you say? Because I know a little bit about your history and the history of all the other companies. Why are you able to do it in such a short way, to switch in the way you go right now with an environmental aspect, but why the big ones don't get it that fast?
I think I think the larger the organization, the harder it is to turn and change, and the further ahead businesses have to plan. We are fortunate. We're a relatively small company, and the management of our company, myself and Paul and our sort of senior management team, we're deeply involved in the workings of the company as well. And I take my hat off to the bigger companies that have really embraced these opportunities, these things. And I think we'll see those things coming from these guys. And if we don't, perhaps people can vote with their wallets and go somewhere else. But I genuinely think we're all divers, and especially in this industry. When as an industry, we're passionate about this environment. Instructors, dive masters, most people working this don't get into it because they don't like diving, and we have a really great relationship with divers in general. We want divers in general to number one, share our passion of enjoying the sport, and we want them to enjoy doing that for as long as possible. And I think that it's a very there's a great opportunity for us all to work together and not feel like we're competitors, and not feel like each of us has anything to gain over the others.
What's Ocean Positive 2021?
We're trying to see our influence not just in terms of product, but also in terms of how we can spread the message, and working with more environmental organizations and trying to spread their message as well as our own. We're working pretty closely with the Olive Ridley project in the Maldives. And then in terms of product, we've got more recycle products coming onto the market this year. So let's
make some advertisement for Force Element products in 2021, maybe.
In terms of our product this year, we will be bringing some new innovations in with our packaging, and then later this year we'll be launching some masks and fins. So watch this space. They're in development at the moment. But in terms of our wetsuits, we're expanding into freediving, and in March we'll launch the RF1, which is our first recreational freediving suit designed for warmer waters, and the RF2 is a cold water freediving suit, which will be coming later in the year as well. And we had our new undergarment for dry suits delayed by coronavirus, sadly. The supply chain just completely fell over, but the new Halo AR is going to be in production and will hopefully be launched late summer this year.
But at the end, you got the same problems as everybody right now has. So delaying and then
plus the ridiculous Brexit thing. But let's not talk about that.
Plus the B thing, exactly.
It is one of those. It's one of those things that I hope we will get sorted out, and I will otherwise regret it forever.
Okay. One question I'm interested in: what you wish from company perspective? What are your wishes for 2021?
Well,
Xmas, let me be your Santa Claus, and you got one wish for your company.
My wish, I can't wish for anything for the company. My wish for 2021 is that the world is vaccinated and that we're able to get back to the things that we love and remember the things that we've learned during this period, that, you know, our health is important, the health of other people is important. And also, I think the one message I think we're certainly learning at the moment is that human ingenuity and cooperation can actually solve these huge problems. And I would love by the end of 21 to have seen that happen. And when that happens, more people will go diving and more people will buy Fourth Element.
For sure, that's the way it is. And also, I think if we get more people into water, everybody sees much more the problem of the world, or especially of the oceans. And so maybe we come closer step by step to a solution to get this bullshit, this fucking plastic bullshit, under control. So
totally, I mean that is, the more you see, the less you can ignore, and eventually will be compelled to act.
This sounds like the perfect Finnish wording. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys, by my bad English, but I think you understand. You have to understand me, and Jim will make it, or will do it. You're close.
Yeah.
Let's see, Jim. So one last question. Yep. What did I forget to ask you?
I don't think you did. I mean, I think for us, certainly from the point of view of this conversation, I wanted to show, the readers of Tauchen and people who are viewing this, that we have this passion for the ocean, and I know that they do too. And great to be able to share that sort of idea. But I hope people know a little bit more about Fourth Element as a result. And
at the end, if people don't know enough about Fourth Element, you have a booth on the digital show.
That's right.
So
come, check it out. And we have a German-speaking team manning the booth. So if you do have any questions, and also we have a competition. So enter the competition, win some Fourth Element gear. It's really easy to enter, and who knows, it could be you.
Jim, just want to say thank you a lot of.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks everyone else.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.